In a world where the news gets twisted, John and Tom stand tall, never wasted. MAGA hats on, they take the stage. With laughter and facts, they break the cage. Unsanctioned voices fearless and bold, turning the tide, watch the truth unfold. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, debating the nonsense of the woke parade. With every punchline, conservative trade, they tackle the issues with humor and wit. In Unsanctioned America, they won't quit. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as John and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as John and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, together they rise, wear their pride like a crown. In Unsanctioned America, never backing down. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, shining light.
China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
With the chaos.
The average American sees chaos. The American people see chaos.
It's total chaos.
You brought chaos.
It's just complete chaos.
Unleashed an economic chaos.
They unleash chaos.
They are creating chaos.
This chaos.
There's too much chaos.
Total chaos.
That amidst the chaos,
We're going to see chaos.
After seeing all the chaos,
The chaos he has unleashed on America.
Continue to see the chaos.
Economic chaos.
A lot more chaos.
Trump's chaos.
This is chaos. With such chaos,
The chaos, because of this chaos. Chaos.
All of this chaos.
Uncertainty and chaos.
Given all that chaos.
When it's chaos.
all the chaos. Chaos and confusion grow.
It's more chaos, dysfunction.
The chaos is the purpose. The chaos is the goal.
it's chaos.
No, John, the word is out, and it's chaos. That is the word. That is the word. Anyway, yes, chaos is the word.
Yeah, chaos is the new buzzword for Democrats to explain why they're losing their minds.
Yep.
So when the president has dementia, doesn't even know where he's at, they're calm as a cucumber.
Yep.
But God forbid you sign 120 executive orders in 2 months and you get this country going back in the right direction. All of a sudden, they can't handle it. But anyways, every time you hear that word, you know that speech or that interview has been written by a script writer from the DNC.
That's right. That's right.
Well, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned America, episode 310, April 12. Tomorrow is Palm Sunday. In a week, we celebrate Easter. What a great Easter present.
You know, 2025 is already going by so fast, John. So
It's
fast.
going by so fast, man. We're 4 months into the year. We're down one quarter.
Yep. Nice. And I'm sure once the drilling starts, John, it's going to go down even more. Yep. I think, John, now the question is going to be out there is why hasn't anyone else done this prior? Any other Republican president? Yeah, no. No. Yep. You know, he's setting the standard that everyone else that follows will be held to. Yep. Absolutely.
That the fact that citizens were inspired to get out and vote, make it impossible to steal an election, we owe that to you and to your divine inspiration. And we hope that you continue to divinely inspire Americans to reach their potential so that this country can reach its potential. And as we come into Easter and then the rest of the year, we pray that Americans can the direction it's going in right now. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get to it, Tom.
All right, let's start it out. All right, John. So, you know, that chaos that Democrats are talking about, that chaos that they're talking about the tariffs. And this is something that President Trump has been talking about for 30 plus years. He's been talking about tariffs. Yeah. He wasn't the only one, though. You can go back and watch videos and see Nancy Pelosi talking about tariffs, Hillary Clinton talking about tariffs, Chuck Schumer talking about tariffs. But, you know, while the mainstream media, the fake news is out there trying to talk about the chaos that these tariffs are causing, we have not one, but two venture capitalists that are going to tell you to not believe this stock market crash narrative. The first one is one we both know very well, and that is Mr. Wonderful.
No. Everybody knows the number one destination for the world's capital, more than 50% of it is invested in the United States of America. 49% of all consumption is in the U.S. 26.1% of world GDP is the United States. It is still the number one economy. And now if you're given the opportunity to invest in China or the United States, it's a no-brainer. Every dollar goes to the U.S. And so while the U.S. has the upper hand, and let's remember something, there's a time bomb here. For Trump, it's the midterm elections. But Xi's got a time bomb, too. He's got millions of workers in factories. Right now, those products are sitting on ships, floating in the ocean, because nobody's going to buy them because they don't have a big enough economy to consume them. Only the U.S. can do that. So we've got a little bit of a game here, a little game of chicken, because Xi only gets to stay in power if people have jobs and they can feed their families. He gets a vote every day. If those factory workers have no jobs, they're going to be like a Frankenstein with torches up at the castle. It's going to be brutal, and he knows that. So let's have this dance. Let's go now. Let's settle this now. 400% tomorrow morning to absolutely lock down zero trade.
400% tariffs on China. That's what O'Leary is advocating for, John.
I think the most importantly, he's advocating that we can just skip to the end where we actually stop trade with China. That will literally force a change in government in China. No. There's only one reason that China's government has not been toppled, and that's because they've been flooding their citizens with cash. They've been paying their allegiance. The minute you start getting poor again, people are going to go to the streets, right? And you've already created a lifestyle of consumerism with your citizens. And if you take on away right now, that key will be a thing of the past. Or Pooh Bear, likes to be called. So I think that he knows he's in a desperate position right now, and they can continue doing this. Now, one thing is super important. Chinese culture demands saving face. And it's something that's hard for me to understand, or Americans, right? Because we have this utility thing, or, we're very familiar with winning and losing. But in China, saving face is extremely important.
Yeah.
So they can't just take this loss. It almost be worse than being removed from office for Xi. So he has to find a way. And I heard somebody else say it. This is not mine, but that they need to come to the table. They want to.
Right. Right. Well, if they don't want to look like a fool and they want to save face, they're going to have to be the ones to come up with a solution and bring that to the table, right? I mean, yeah. Well, I think if it's something reasonable, and we know this from history, if it's something reasonable, President Trump isn't going to say no. So, bring something reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they're not going to, right? I think that they're stuck because they're basically at Trump's mercy now. If Trump says no, then it's only a matter of time until they implode. Now, changes, and we know technology comes, changes everything, throws everything upside down, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But essentially, we're not going to be surpassed economically by China.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, John, like I said, not one, but two venture capitalists. Here's the second one. And this one is a former Democrat donor.
That's what Biden left us.
When the history books are written, I think we will look back at the period of the Biden administration, and I think there will be two unequivocal observations. One was that he was in mental decline and he was not really running the country.
Yep.
And the second is that in partnership with Janet Yellen, they pushed America to the brink of financial collapse. And the details of that, Laura, are very clear. The amount of debt that they created and issued, the amount of short-term obligations that they created for the U.S. Treasury are, frankly, unconscionable. The reality is that for the last 40 years, whether they want to admit it or not, Donald Trump has been right. When we admitted China into the WTO in 2000, we thought we were getting the best of it, but we didn't. We did a very bad deal, and they won overwhelmingly. Then, 20 years later, right at the beginning of COVID, we realized yet again how fragile the United States was, how incapable we were of resiliently protecting ourselves and taking care of our own interests. And so at the end of the day, the most important thing that we need to remember is there are 4 areas that matter. Everything else is debatable, but the 4 that are undebatable. Number 1 is AI. Number 2 is energy. Number 3 are batteries and rare earths. And number 4 is pharmaceuticals. And the reason is, if we can take care of those 4 areas, we will do so much for protecting Americans and building a great economy. And the thing is, the president has been onto this for much longer than the rest of us. And I think what you're hearing from the establishment is an inability to just acknowledge that he was right, they were wrong, and to course correct.
So they wrecked it and he's trying to fix it?
Well, I think the thing is that the global elite have deeply benefited from a 20-year regime of taking jobs and moving them anywhere in the world that allowed you to optimize for profit, number one. It benefited from an economic regime of low volatility where you could keep interest rates effectively at zero for quasi-forever. And the reality now is that what they see is an inability to create and scaremonger the White House into economic policy. And I think that this is very troublesome for them because they've been able to control from Wall Street or from London or from these other places how governments behave. And so what you see right now is them violently trying to push back and trying to create a narrative. So for example, if you opened up the papers, there's an entire wing of the media that is now trying to say that the president, quote unquote, blinked. Why do they want us to think that? I think they want us to think that because they want to believe that they can talk about the stock market and then affect policy every 5 and 10 minutes. But I just want everybody to realize the stock market is back to where it was in May 26th of 2024. By no means is this a crash. Absolutely there's volatility, but we are not in a place where it is time to all of a sudden revisit these aspirations that we've had. We are in a unique moment in time where we have the ability to reset the global order, and we have to follow through.
Like in 15 seconds.
All right, so we'll just end it right there. You know, there was 15 seconds more, but, you know, he basically laid it out there, John, even better than O'Leary did. O'Leary said, you know, 400% tariffs. I get that. Absolutely. But Mr. Palihatia, I think that's his last name. He just put it out there. You know, we're at the cusp of resetting the global order, and we need to follow through.
This is such a great. I mean, I don't think that we've ever. First of all, number one, this is a Democrat mega donor. This is not some partisan Republican guy who Trump is paying to bolster his actions. This is a Democrat mega donor. Now, we've already seen billionaires, Democrat billionaire mega donors, leave the Democrat Party. Why? Because now they have the freedom to choose the future of the country and maintain their businesses. With Biden, it was, I can either choose the future of the country, but at the expense of having the Biden weaponize the government against me. And now you don't have to do that. And this guy's telling the truth. And what he said, the most important thing was that when the history books are written, they're going to look back and they're going to see two things. Number one, the Democrats are deep liars. And number two, they almost brought the United States to its knees economically, almost to a point where it could have not recovered. No. That's through the mouth and through the lens of a Democrat mega donor who is a venture capitalist. At this point, the Democrats, in order to survive, need to think to themselves, how do we not move to the right, but how do we move to Main Street in terms of accountability, right?
No.
And like we see Gavin Newsom trying to do this with that stupid podcast that he has, where he has like an idiot, and he has Republicans on there, where it doesn't look like he's a nut job who didn't allow people to poop in the street, or who didn't try to take your kids away if you wouldn't change their gender. And I think that we're all, Republicans and Democrats are waiting to see if anyone rises, because it's not going to be that ghetto princess.
No.
It's not going to be a Puerto Rican princess in Brooklyn. So they have the one. It's not going to be Gavin Newsom. Nobody from California, especially San Francisco, will ever win a national election.
No.
So, you know, I mean, they don't have anybody. Yep. And it's because these people are now going to start telling the truth. And it's why? It's because we're writing history now. And as we're going to see throughout the show, everyone is coming to the conclusion that not only was Donald Trump right, but we like him and people like him. If you're mentally ill, you're the exclusion.
Nah. Yeah. Yeah, we know a few of those, so yeah. Unfortunately. Okay, so next up, John, this interesting story. And this is this whistleblower who is telling a Senate committee that Meta, Facebook, undermined U.S. to China. We're going to watch a little bit of this. Here it is.
You're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you very much. We'd love to hear your opening statement. Take as long as you need.
Chairman Hawley, Ranking Member Durbin, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Wow.
That Facebook delete the account of a prominent Chinese dissident living on American soil. They did it. And then lied to Congress when asked about the incident in a Senate hearing. The willingness to censor was not the only troubling thing I witnessed. I watched as executives decided to provide the Chinese Communist Party with access to Meta user data, including that of Americans. Meta does not dispute these facts. They can't. I have the documents. As recently as this Monday, they claim that they do not operate their services in China. Another lie. In fact, they began offering products and services in China as early as 2014. That hasn't stopped. Their own SEC filings from last year show that China is now Meta's second biggest market. Meanwhile, Meta's AI model, Llama, has contributed significantly to Chinese advances in AI technologies like DeepSeek. Facebook's secret mission to get into China was called Project Aldrin and was restricted to need-to-know staff. There was no bridge too far. Meta built a physical pipeline connecting the United States and China. Meta executives ignored warnings that this would provide backdoor access to the Chinese Communist Party, allowing them to intercept the personal data and private messages of American citizens. The only reason China does not currently have access to US user data through this pipeline is because Congress stepped in. Meta started briefing the Chinese Communist Party as early as 2015. These briefings focused on critical emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence. The explicit goal being to help China outcompete American companies. There's a straight line you can draw from these briefings to the recent revelations that China is developing AI models for military use, relying on Meta's Llama model. Meta's internal documents describe their sales pitch for why China should allow them into the market by, quote, helping China increase global influence and promote the China dream. The truth about what has gone on in China matters. I filed a shareholder resolution asking Meta's board to investigate its activity in China, and I filed whistleblower complaints with the SEC and the DOJ. The measure of how important these truths are is directly proportionate to the ferocity of Meta's efforts to censor and intimidate me. I relied on their commitment given in 2018 that they would waive their rights to pursue forced arbitration. Despite that public commitment, they have brought a case against me for hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, they have a legal gag order that silences me, even as Meta and their proxies spread lies about me. This order is so expansive that it prohibits me from speaking with members of Congress. The gag by a company whose CEO a champion of free speech. The American people deserve to know the truth. Meta has been willing to compromise its values, sacrifice the security of its users, and undermine American interests to build it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. We're going to have 8-minute rounds of questioning, and I will start. Let me just start with
That's pretty damning, and I hope she has a lot of evidence to bring forward, John, so that they truly can be held accountable. Yeah. I mean, if she has evidence then to bring forward, I truly hope that some people are held accountable at Meta, including Mr. Zuckerberg, and maybe we should check to see if we're still on Facebook at this point, John. Yes.
We've been taken down in the middle of shows on Facebook multiple times. This is what we all suspected, and I'm going to say that many times tonight because we all knew this is all information you give to China, you have to give to the United States in the reverse. So if they're giving, and if they have any relationships with any China,
Yeah, absolutely. John, I wonder, how Zuckerberg has started to walk back on all this stuff. He started hanging out with Dana White, and he went ahead and admitted that he was wrong for censoring Americans. I'm wondering if he started to walk back on all this stuff because he was afraid that a lot of this stuff was going to come out. No. It's advantageous to us right now to be on every, network that we can be on. Whether it be Twitch, whether it's Rumble, whether it's X, Facebook, that's why we're still there. But believe me, eventually we will be leaving there. So anyway, moving on, John. The cabinet, President Trump's cabinet had a big meeting this week, and there was a lot of things that came out of that meeting. The first one is that the Secretary of Labor revealed that DOGE has uncovered massive insurance fraud. Listen to this.
Unemployment insurance fraud. That trust needs to be whole for the American people. When we need it for who deserves it. That's not what we're seeing in the numbers that we saw last night, again, exposed by our partners at DOGE, at the Department of Labor. Since 2020, over $400 million of payments have gone out already. And when you, Mr. President, 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old have collected fraudulent payments at the tune of $254 million has gone out.
Wow.
And lastly, 10,000 people who have not been born yet, 15 years into the future, $69 million, and they haven't even been born yet. In one case, they will be born 129 years from now. The United States government sent them $41,000, and they're not born yet. So, under the Department of Labor, those are the things that we're uncovering. I couldn't be more honored to tell the American people that we're bringing back their dollars and we're saving them and returning them to the United States Treasury.
You know, I'm glad to see that they're finding this stuff, John. Absolutely. Glad to see they're finding it. We need to find who the recipients are, and they need to be held accountable. Yeah.
I think that Elon Musk was saying a couple of weeks ago, like, I'm not seeing the prosecutions, all right? We're not seeing the convictions. And he was like, oh, but the wheels of justice turn slowly and, surely but slowly. And so, I think that even gay organizations or people tied to them, or it's going to be interesting to see.
I think we're going to see a lot of familiar names.
I think we're going to see
familiar names. Yeah. I think there was so much talk about this stuff, John, and we haven't really seen much of it at all. Pam Bondi.
People who perpetrated the crime, which I think.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John. So another thing that came out of this big cabinet meeting was RFK Jr. Announced that there will be no more animal testing at the NIH or FDA, and they will rely on AI instead.
Today we announced a dramatic reduction in animal testing at NIH and FDA. We're going to switch over to AI, which we've now found is much more precise in identifying the impacts of toxics in various products. We're working with Elon, who's done our trajectory to your agenda of making America healthy again.
Well, there you go, John. And you know what's funny about this is that, RFK Jr. announced they're not going to be testing on animals anymore. We're going to rely on AI solely for these types of testings, and you're going to see the left not give them any credit for this whatsoever. It's like President Trump said. On the final thing that we're going to talk about from this big cabinet meeting was this coming from Tulsi Gabbard, where she announced that they have found massive evidence of massive vulnerabilities in voting machines. And here's that.
I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time, and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
All right, so there it is, John. Tulsi Gabbard talking about these voting machines, and we've talked about this here locally in Florida. We had Senate Bill 1414, which was from Senator Angolia, that was going to allow all of our votes to be counted by clear ballot, which takes pictures of your ballot. That bill has been tabled currently, and now there is a mirror bill in the House, the exact same thing, not following the Trump agenda, and hopefully more states will get on board. We have multiple people coming forward
in Russia or Latin America or Afghanistan for that matter. So I just, I mean, they got to fix this. This has to be a priority, and we have to stop playing with our elections. We have to stop playing with the laws. They have to stop trying to keep power through elections.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already corrupting our elections with dark money. But you got to allow clean.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Gotta happen. All right, John. So before we go on to some more stories from across the nation, we have this important message from our friends down in Sarasota.
Do you remember forced masks, forced mandates, forced lockdowns, and forced vaccinations?
Absolutely. And do you remember who funded it all and the mastermind of it all? I'm talking about gain-of-function research, the Wuhan lab in China, and of course, pushing that bioweapon that they tried to call a vaccine. We remember it was Frankenstein, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
On Monday, April 14th, Dr. Anthony Fauci will be a guest speaker at the Van Wezel Performing Arts Center here in Sarasota, Florida, and we are not going to stay silent.
That's right. We're inviting you today to the Freedom Festival on Monday, April 14th, right here at 5 Points Park on Central Avenue in Sarasota. Starts at 11 a.m. We're going to have guest speakers, live entertainment. Come hear your perspective of how we remember COVID-19. We don't remember it the way Anthony Fauci does. Listen, he can push his First Amendment right to speak there. We're giving you your First Amendment right to speak here. Again, Monday, April 14th, 11 a.m. right here at 5 Points Park in Sarasota. We hope to see you then. If you want more information, please visit thehollowalliance.com, thehollowalliance.com.
We'll see you there.
Oops. I don't know what happened there. I guess I went on the wrong one, John. But anyway, here we go. This is the first segment of this across the nation. Everyone seems to be losing their minds about Real ID, John. You can go on X, you can go on Facebook, and it's over this video from Director of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem.
Hi, I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. If you plan on traveling, we need your help to prevent delays and to prove your identity. Get a Real ID. Starting May 7th, you will need a Real ID to travel by air or to visit federal buildings in the United States. These IDs keep our country safe because they help prevent fraud and they enhance security. Please do your part to protect our country. Go today and don't delay. To learn more, go to dhs.gov/real-ID. Thank you.
All right. So like I said, John, you can go on X, you can go on Facebook, but particularly X. Go on X, you go in the search and you put in Real ID, and you will see people losing their minds, including Thomas Massey, who seems to be losing his mind at anything coming out of the Trump administration. Seems to be the biggest obstructionist to the Trump agenda. He's coming out saying that they should not be pushing this Real ID. The funny thing about this, John, here in the state of Florida, I've looked at my ID. I have a Real ID. I'm sure if you look at your ID, you have a Real ID. We all have this Real ID automatically already, so I don't know why people are losing their minds, John.
Depending on what system, it's just a barcode now.
Yeah.
And so why not? Why not? I mean, like in California, you can have your ID on your phone, like Apple Pay.
Yep.
So I get it. Some people aren't with the technology in terms of identification. Nobody wants the mark of the beast type of thing. Okay, fine, I get it. But that point has passed in terms of Real ID.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the controversy is or what the concern is yet. I'm just maybe not versed in it. But I'm happy to have an ID because I think that your driver's license should say whether you're a citizen or not.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have information about you, like what party you belong to. It should just have your voter ID number.
Yep.
Right? Like your voter ID number should be the same as your driver's license number. Why would it be any different?
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense why it would be any different.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
No.
It's the same. It's the state. You're registered with the county, but everybody has a different voter ID number. Why would you have a different? Why would it not be unique to you? And then just like we have a little star on there, and that tells you that it's a real ID, which means that you're.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see why not. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't see controversy. I don't know if it's a misunderstanding. I don't know if there are certain states out there besides our own where you go to get your driver's license, it isn't a real ID to begin with. I don't know, but people losing their minds over it. It just blows my mind. But yes, if you do not have a real ID, I don't know anybody that doesn't, but if you don't, you won't be able to fly after May 7th. So there you go. All right. So next up, John, we have former NBC host Chuck Todd going on Piers Morgan Uncensored, admitting that the media feared covering Biden's decline would help Trump. Listen to this.
Subtle. You basically kept the truth from the American citizens. You kept the Hunter Biden laptop, right? You never mentioned the fact that there's a diary of his daughter complaining about him getting into the shower with her. They never spoke about who's cracked. They never forced the policing agencies, the law enforcement agency, the federal government to find out whose cocaine that was in the White House. They never pressed Biden on being sold out to China. They never pressed Hunter over being selling influence across the world. And then they lied about Trump. I mean, that's all this guy. These are all their active job. That's what they were doing actively. That wasn't a reactive. It wasn't a even an active omission. Because there were people that were reporting on it, they were actively going against it, and they were talking about the whole Russia hoax.
Yep.
I mean, they never said until they accept accountability, until they acknowledge it happened, and stop trying to gaslight the American public. The mainstream media is going to be a pointless exercise from here on out.
Yeah, yeah. And they're proving it every single day, John. They're proving it every single day. All right. So next up, we've got this story, and this is Tim Walz. He's still out there on his 15 Minutes of Fame tour. And he gets heckled and booed by military veterans in Minnesota over his stolen valor. And here's this video. Yeah. If anybody, if any Democrat is thinking that he's going to be the guy in 2028, you can forget.
I can't imagine that some of these blue states are going to become purple states in the next 2 and 4 years.
Well, let's see. All right, John. So the U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey is Alina Habba now. And Alina Habba has opened an investigation into New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. Here's that.
Old horse teeth.
According to a new report, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has ordered local police in the state to stop cooperating with immigration officials. Now, we did reach out to the governor's office for comment, but shockingly, we've yet to hear back. Now, the U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, Alina Habba, is here with more. Is that true? Do you have proof of that? Have you heard that to be true?
Let me give you a very brief summary of what we do know. We know that the governor has on his website currently do's and don'ts for his local state of law enforcement. Those do's and don'ts instruct them not to cooperate with illegal immigrants who have administrative warrants that have been issued by the court after due process saying that they are no longer welcome here. They have gone through the court system. They are to be deported. It is instructing them to go against our federal rules, our executive orders. And I am unfortunately going to announce on your show tonight, Sean, and I want it to be a warning for everybody, that I have instructed my office today to open an investigation into Governor Murphy, to open an investigation into Attorney General Platkin, who has also instructed the state police not to assist any of our federal, and they list our federal agencies that are under my direction, the FBI, the DEA, all these individuals that are trying to clean up our streets in New Jersey, not to cooperate. That will no longer stand. Pam Bondi has made it clear, and so has our president, that we are to take all violent criminals and criminals out of this country and to completely enforce federal law. And anybody who does get in that way, in the way of what we are doing, which is not political, it is simply against crime, will be charged in the state of New Jersey for obstruction, for concealment, and I will come after them hard. Those investigations will start immediately. The governor and the attorney general.
Wow. I'm sure Chris Christie is loving this, John.
Oh my gosh. I mean, from Chris Christie to Phil Murphy. The people of New Jersey, again, I don't know how far they are from Minnesota.
Yeah, they're a little ways.
It's just bad. I mean, ideologically, not so much, though. Huh?
No.
Why would you go for a guy like Phil Murphy?
Yeah. And why is Phil Murphy protecting illegal criminals? That's a real question. New Jersey people. Yeah.
The people in Jersey are tough people, and you think that they want to victimize by a trend out of I don't think so. I don't get it. No. Some people have brought to my attention that we're having some technical difficulties on the feed, that it comes and it goes, and that it's basically leaving behind a whole bunch of separate clips instead of one long show. So sorry about that confusion. We'll get it sorted out for the next show.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad that we're at the end now. We figured that out. So this final segment, John, it took one dinner, John. It took one dinner with President Trump for Bill Maher to figure out he was wrong about Trump. We just have this quick clip. We're going to talk about it, and then we'll play the rest of it with a warning to our audience.
Moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, loved it. The border did need to be controlled. I'm glad the cops are getting their morale back. DEI had gone too far. Biological men shouldn't be playing women's sports. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries should take in Arab refugees, like the million Syrians who wound up
And that's the bottom line. So, last night we were watching The Apprentice, my wife and I, the very first season of Apprentice, and the last show of the first season of The Apprentice. Donald Trump has always been himself. He's the most authentic guy on the planet. He was literally being himself. He's the same guy he is today as he was back then. And he's just gracious and nice. And if you're on his team, he treats you like gold. He's also a hard fact giver. He's not sugarcoating. He tells you the truth. He tells it the way he's
Yeah, I can say the same. I don't see the problem with it. And that's the problem we have today, is that Democrats and Republicans feel like they can't talk. You know what I mean? They feel like they can't have that conversation.
it's a zero-sum game, right? It's a death sport.
Yep.
And you have to die.
That they made their boogeyman.
Have you ever watched Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to see that people like Bill Maher, and we also had the Morning Schmo and his wife, Mika Brzezinski, go to the White House and talk to Trump, and they got chastised by the left for doing it. Now Bill Maher's doing the same thing. He's getting beaten up by people on the left for doing it. But I applaud them for taking that step to reach out, to have that conversation, because it needs to be had. That's what we all need to get back to in this country. We cannot keep having these standoffs where we're not talking. We have to have that conversation. We get away from that, and you see what's happened, like the past decade, I'd say, where we've had these gigantic standoffs where, the left is way over here and the right is way over here. I'm not saying that we abandon our principles, but we should be able to have that conversation, not agree, and be okay at the end of it. Yeah. 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 That's true. For tonight, we do have one more clip of Bill Maher. It was the end of his segment, his opening monologue. It went 12 minutes long. We're not going to play 12 minutes of video on this show of Bill Maher, but I do think it's important to hear the end of what he has to say because it goes along with something we said. But be warned, there are some F-bombs in there. We're going to have that to end the show. So we'll just say our final thoughts. We'll play that video. It'll go straight to the outro video, and that'll be the end of the show. So there we go. This is what happens. This is what happens when you try to upgrade your equipment. You know what I mean? You have, yeah. Anyway, all right. So there's that video. Have a great night. We'll see you next week. I even get the video going.
I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days. He was even okay when I checked him on the orangutan lawsuit. He was. He's not saying it's our responsibility to do that. It's not. I'm just reporting exactly what I saw over 2.5 hours. I went into the mine, and that's what's down there. A crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV a lot lives there, which I know is fucked up. It's just not as fucked up as I thought it was. And I have no illusions now that I'm back to work at my job. He might start a new list. Because I don't have a good feeling and will be critical about a lot of what he's doing. The trade war and disappearing people, ruling by decree, threatening judges, gutting the government with glee. But I also think he now understands I have a job to do, or at least he did on this night, because he said to me early on that he'd seen our last episode, which was the Friday before this dinner. And he said, I thought maybe you'd be nice, but you hit me really hard. I did, because I'm not going to pull my punches. The presidents get to propose a third term for themselves. He understood that, and without animus. That doesn't mean he's not going to try to do it. At one point, I said to him, you're scaring people. Do you really want to be scaring your own citizens so much? And I know now you're all saying, and what did he say to that? Honestly, I don't remember. But it wasn't, okay, I'll stop. So MAGA fans, don't worry. Your boy gave me nothing. Just hats. Hats and a very generous amount of time and a willingness to listen, accept me as a possible friend, even though I'm not MAGA, which was the point of the dinner. My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the blowjob room. We were. And he said, you know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot. And I said, same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? writing same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? You can hate me for it, but isn't that? I can't answer, and it's not. I'm just high.
Well, I mean, I was entertained, to be honest.
I think it is rich beyond measure. The fact that a school board member that has tens of millions of dollars of conflict of interest before this board has the courage to come up here and talk about anyone's behavior. If anyone should be ashamed of themselves, sir, it should be you.
And I'm in favor of you being able to speak your mind, no matter what. That's how we get, remember when we were kids, right? And you had a problem with somebody, and then your dad would kick you out to go fight with that kid, and then you shake hands, and then you go home, and then you